When you're talking, a lot of criticism was laid at their door, or some criticism, not a lot of criticism, that's misrepresenting, about their sort of lacklustre performance against Watford during the course of the week, which people would have put down as a potential banker, given the side's been relegated, and that there was points to be had there. They took a point. Now, obviously, circumstances took control of their destiny yesterday. You got a centre-back sent off, then you got a ridiculous challenge from a centre-forward. Now, the game was already away from them at 3-2, so the centre-forward's challenge just sort of adds grist to the elbow of people saying a lack of discipline from certain players. Look, I mean, somehow or another, they've hodgepodged their way out of this circumstance. I don't think they'll get relegated.
Still you don't?
No, I don't think they will. I think I know the argument was that the game was at Goodison yesterday, but the game was taken away by two situations that neither the fans' passion and influence can drag you past, or the coach can do much about. They were judgment calls by individual players on the pitch that no amount of coaching or discipline can either legislate for or prevent.
Yeah.
Now, they've got Goodison again on Thursday.
Yeah,
it's against Palace. Surely to God they want to put right that appalling quarter-final performance in the FA Cup against Crystal Palace, because they just capitulated in front of their own fans, and that will be the opportunity to arrest the challenges of Sunday, and I think they will do. I think it's a straight shootout between Burnley and Leeds now.
Did you think they would beat Brentford yesterday? I can't remember what you said to me on Friday.
I had mixed emotions about that game. I was more focused, I had to be honest, on Friday with what I thought Leeds might be able to galvanise themselves to achieve against Brighton.
Yeah.
So I was more focused on that. And when I saw Everton leading, I thought, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And then, of course, they got clawed back into the game, but the circumstances unfolded around them. You could argue
but
that
it's been in their own hands twice, Simon.
You could argue that the boy might not have even been sent off if the referee had done his job, because whilst Richarlison wasn't necessarily being hauled to the ground, he certainly was having a shirt pulled off his back.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's interesting, I think, when you're living at this, we're on the outside of it, but the psychology of it, when you see that Everton, twice I think Newcastle sort of swam away from them, looked like Burnley had done the same, looked like Leeds had done enough to scramble, hadn't they, to safety, and then looked like Everton had done it. And it looks as if, Jim, you're clear and there's clear water. Suddenly you're back in trouble. I thought they'd done well actually recently when Everton beat Chelsea at home. I thought, okay, they turned a corner there. They go away to Leicester and win 2-1. I know the Watford game was really one. If they don't stay up, Jim, they'll look at that and say, absolute missed opportunity.
Yes.
Far too passive in the game. They might have looked at it and thought, okay, it's a point and we're still keeping that unbeaten run. But then you lose at home and then you're losing players. That's 5 now sent off under Lampard. That's sort of ill discipline. And you wonder, actually, both Ellen Road and Goodison, these sending offs are happening there, aren't they? With the intensity of the fans, the brilliant support for both teams.
Oh, it's a phenomenal support.
But I keep making the point about being at boiling point, but not boiling over. You've got to keep your head. And it seems as if Everton have lost that. It was good to hear Frank there seem to be quite calm and knows what's ahead of him.
Yeah.
But he won't get any favours from Palace.
But psychologically, Martin, where are they? I mean, that twice they've had it in their own hands and twice they haven't taken advantage of that.
I just feel that the Goodison effect will have a big bearing on what happens. But
it did yesterday. I mean, it was there for everybody to see.
But he got a young player. I think they've been besieged with injuries in the central defensive position, Jim. Godfrey's been out now for a good while. Mina's out, comes in for 5 minutes. Could see the effect. He's very good, very powerful set piece, very important to them. So, I think it's probably going to go back to that. Is he going to go back to a back 4? Is it a back 5 against a Palace team, which is really an outstanding form? They're very exciting times for Palace. Will turn up and fancy that they can take Everton down. Well, a peg or two.
Everton wouldn't have lost that game probably if they hadn't had players sent off. And when you talk about these two players, Michael Keane, you have to look at the quality of the player and the decision-making process. I think people have been very critical of Keane this season, and probably he isn't good enough for the longer term. The two players that are sent off on Saturday are bit-part players. They might not be bit-part players now because the squad has been depleted.
Yeah.
But insofar as the prevalence in the group, they probably haven't had as much focus. You look at Rondon all season, how many minutes has he played, and how prevalent has he been since Rafa Benitez has left? Virtually non-existent. And so he comes on the pitch and behaves in a certain way, and that might be born out of frustration because he's not getting enough opportunities. But I think that the whole game changes when those players are sent off. Everton are responding to the opportunities in front of them.
Yeah.
People would say going away to Watford, where Watford have a free hit, they can play freely, there's no pressure upon them, they're getting relegated, is actually a more of a difficult game, as it proved on the weekend. for periods of time until they got absolutely smashed to
But
pieces
I
by
watched
Leicester.
I watched that game, Simon, and I thought, well, okay, what do? You're playing against a Watford team with devoid of any confidence. They've made a number of changes in the game because obviously the manager thinks, right, okay, let's go in a different direction. I'm going to play people now that deserve an opportunity. The rest of us have let us down. And Everton don't press. They don't go and press and engage. And when you're playing against someone who hasn't got any confidence, that's exactly what you do. Go and win the ball high up the pitch. They sat quite happy to sit quite deep. And it's just the way the manner of that game was kind of like, okay, yeah, they had plenty of chances and they didn't really, but it was just the way they set out. And I just hope, because I'm a massive Everton fan, of course, been there for nearly 4 years in my playing career, I wouldn't want them look back with regret. So there can't be any regrets against Palace.
No.
But it's a different proposition, Jim, when you're playing Palace right now than playing a Watford.
Of course. Very briefly, Simon, Leeds, just before their equaliser against Brighton, they drew it 1-1, as you know.
Yeah.
The Leeds fans turned somewhat, with fans singing against the board and chanting Bielsa's name.
Well, I mean, this is
that's not exactly going to help the boys on the pitch, is it?
No, not at all. And obviously, I also understand that they were singing for the ball to be gotten out. And you've got to look at the landscape of football fans and what some of these football fans are doing. I've remarked upon it at times about the entitlement of football fans and some of their conduct and attitude and outlook. Whether they think they can bring smoke canisters in the stadium because that's what they want to do. Whether they think they can boo the national anthem at Wembley, or whatever else it is. Right? It's unfathomable. This is a club that languished outside of the Premier League for whatever you may be thinking of Red Razani right now, and whatever you may be thinking about the decision about Bielsa. This was a club that sat outside of the Premier League for 16 years, went through 2 or 3 virtual administrations where Ken Bates pre-packaged them in and out of financial difficulties, couldn't find their way, couldn't find their backsides with both hands in the funnel, got out of the league underneath the auspice of this owner, and now you have some adversity, you're going to shout, sack the board. I mean, I don't know what to say to people. I don't know what to say to people like that.
Just what the players. Well, I'm sure. I hope the players weren't listening to it. But
Jim,
they got there and then they got a point.
I think we're going to have a go at the fans. I think we must applaud as well the atmosphere at Ellen Road, and they virtually sucked that ball in, didn't they?
I know.
They had I think they had the '92 former winners of the Premier League there. Yeah. They were doing everything. I saw Alan Clark on the pitch, a big star from the '70s. Yeah. They're really trying to get that, and it was just this feeling that something was going to happen. Gilhert. What about his skill, that trickery?
I know.
And then they score that goal right at the end of the game. Martin, so they're not giving up either.
Nonetheless, the fans have got to think about what they're doing now and again. I mean, what was the intention of singing against the board and chanting Bielsa's name just before you got the equaliser? I mean, surely that's not the way to go. Or is it? Tell me different if you want. 03717 223344 81089 1030.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.